Let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking something literally mind-bending, the meaning of the Quran. We're not just looking at it as a static historical document, right? We're exploring it as this incredibly dynamic text that generates, well, infinite layers of meaning. We're going to use historical, linguistic, and even scientific lenses to really see how it functions. Whether you're coming at this as a believer or an academic, the sheer depth here is just undeniable. And in this explainer, we're breaking down exactly how it works on all these different levels. So to wrap our heads around this, we're looking through 5 distinct prisms today. First, the Cave of Revelation, then Pillars of the Faith, the Linguistic Miracle, Science and the Unseen, and finally, the Ultimate Criterion. Let's dive in. All right, starting with part 1, the Cave of Revelation. We're tracing the physical descent of the message right back to the profound silence of Mecca's mountains. Now, a critical fact to remember here, and our sources really highlight this, is that this wasn't just some overnight event. No way. It was a 23-year journey. It literally started in total isolation inside the Cave of Hira, where an unlettered prophet received a message that would steadily unfold over more than 2 decades. It adapted to shifting social, personal, and spiritual contexts the entire time. And the catalyst for the whole shebang was this incredibly powerful command: read in the name of your Lord who created. Think about that. As the source material points out, giving this first command to someone who couldn't read essentially rebuilt the bridge between the heavens and the earth. It kicked off a totally new era of spiritual guidance, like a light cutting through the darkness to fill hearts with knowledge. Over those 23 years, that purely abstract revelation eventually crystallized into the highly structured, physical text we study today, made up of 114 surahs, or chapters. The sheer density and layered nature of these verses give us a tangible anchor for a message that bridges the completely mundane with the absolutely divine. Moving right along to Section 2, Pillars of the Faith. Let's look at the foundational theology here, drawn directly from the famous Sahih Muslim Hadith, which lays out the core structure of the belief system. You know, what's genuinely fascinating is how these 5 pillars act as the absolute bedrock of Islam. The sources tell this great story of a Bedouin who actually came up to the Prophet and asked, point blank, what he needed to do to enter paradise. And he was giving exactly these physical requirements: the oneness of Allah, establishing prayer, paying charity, fasting during Ramadan, and making the pilgrimage. Boom. It's the behavioral baseline, the structural submission required of believers. But of course, the meaning goes way deeper than just going through the physical motions. We really have to contrast those outward actions of Islam, like the prayer and the charity we just talked about, with the inward beliefs. That's Iman, which is having profound faith in the unseen, the angels, and divine decree. And then at the absolute peak, you have Ihsan, or ultimate spiritual excellence. The sources describe Ihsan as worshiping Allah as if you were literally seeing him in front of you. Because, well, even if you can't see him, you know he sees you. It's about achieving total internal and external alignment. Okay, let's shift gears to part 3, the linguistic miracle. This is where we look at the actual mechanics of the language and see how Arabic itself is this massive, intricate labyrinth of meaning. To really get the Quran's meaning, you absolutely have to understand the Arabic triliteral root system. In Arabic, a word's meaning usually kicks off with this dead, unpronounceable 3-consonant base, just 3 letters, but then you inject vowels into it to bring it to life. By adding different prefixes and vowels, that single little 3-letter root can spin out dozens of interrelated words, creating this incredible, massive matrix of meaning. One of our key sources, Charles Legay Eaton, hits the nail on the head here. He compares this whole root system to a tree. From just one single root, this massive canopy of verbal forms and meanings grows outwards. It's the perfect analogy, honestly, because it shows exactly how the text pulls off absolute unity while still having literally limitless diversity. So when you hear just one word right out loud, all these other interconnected meanings are kind of vibrating in the background for the listener. And the text itself totally acknowledges how complex its own linguistic structure is. It acts as al-Furqan, the criterion. It purposefully places incredibly clear, strictly fundamental laws right alongside these really deep allegorical verses. According to the sources, this isn't random. It's a deliberate challenge to the reader's intellect. It practically forces you to reflect deeper to uncover all those hidden interlocking meanings. Which brings us to Section 4, Science and the Unseen. Let's see what happens when the physical crashes into the metaphysical. So, you might be wondering, how exactly does this source material tackle the strict physical laws of the universe, while at the exact same time dealing with totally metaphysical realms? It's wild to see how interpreters look at a 1400-year-old text and find it intersecting with super advanced concepts like quantum mechanics, while still holding fiercely onto ancient, esoteric realities. How on earth do those two things coexist in one book? Well, interpreters often break it down by contrasting the observable universe with a hidden one. On one side, you've got Sunnatullah, which is basically Allah's established way. This covers the physical laws of nature, the stuff we can measure with science. But then, on the flip side, a massive part of being a believer is having faith in El-Ghaib, the unseen universe. We're talking destiny, angels, the whole hidden realm. The text essentially asks the reader to hold both of these simultaneously, viewing both the seen and the unseen as signs of the Creator. For instance, when diving into that unseen side, the text speaks directly about the jinn. Get this, the Arabic root for the word jinn literally translates to something that is hidden. And according to Surah Al-Jinn in our sources, these hidden entities actually listened to the recitation of the text and fully accepted the message just from hearing its immense power. It really shows how the book claims a reach that goes way, way beyond just our visible human world. But then you pivot back to the scientific side, and modern sources are drawing these mind-blowing parallels between Quranic verses and hardcore advanced physics. Take the verses dealing with predestined decrees, like the ones found in Surah Taha. Interpreters are actively comparing these to Einstein's theories of quantum entanglement. You know, what he famously called spooky action at a distance. It hints at a universe running on highly complex, predetermined mechanisms, and all of it is concisely tucked into single sentences within the text. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, the ultimate criterion. Let's look at the real philosophical takeaway for you and me. Because at the end of the day, no matter what scientific or linguistic lenses we're using to analyze it, the core meaning of this text is meant to be highly practical. Its main job is to serve as a literal rope of salvation. It's there to instruct humanity toward justice, pull us away from shameful deeds, and act as a crystal clear criterion that separates truth from falsehood in what is, let's face it, a pretty chaotic world. And there's a quote from our sources that I absolutely love, and it perfectly captures the heart of this entire explainer. The Quran holds up a mirror to those who approach it. Think about that. The text isn't just passive words on a page. The sources argue its ultimate meaning actually reflects the soul and the intentions of whoever's reading it. If you come at it with arrogance, well, you'll just find justification for your arrogance. But if you approach it with depth, you're going to unlock layers of profound profundity. It literally meets the reader exactly where they are. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. We've gone through the mechanics, the history, the whole structure. But ultimately, what you manage to extract from this text completely depends on what you bring to it. How will your own perspective shape the infinite layers of meaning you uncover? It's a pretty heavy question, but it highlights exactly why this historic, incredibly multidimensional message is still actively challenging billions of minds today. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Catch you on the next explainer.